What up, ball knowers? My name's Darian. Today we're back with another position deep dive. This time we got the edge rushers. Obviously one of the stronger positions on the team, and we're going to talk about how these guys might perform in this upcoming year and what the future holds for all of them. First up, we got the main man, Nik Bonitto, and Nik Bonitto has been playing better and better each year of his career, putting himself in DPOY conversations for stretches of the year. Just need to see this guy be a little more consistent down the stretch. Obviously, one of the premier pass rushers for the Denver Broncos and probably in the league, probably a top 10 pass rusher, but he can be a little weak in the run game. I like to see him work on that, and he needs to up his secondary pass rush game so he's not just straight speed around the edge. Now, I think Nik Bonitto's in for another big year. I think his speed is just something that offensive tackles will never be able to handle, but if he can get more and more moves, he can sustain stretches of sacks rather than just having burst against possibly lower-end tackles. Last year, Nik Bonitto signed a big deal, and in 2026 he's making only about $8 million. But in 2027 and beyond, his cap hit jumps again. As we've seen with a lot of these Broncos players, they're pretty cheap for this 26-27 year, but then that cap hit gets higher and higher, with Nik Bonitto being $32 million to $28 to $33. So reasonable for a high-end edge rusher, but it's just surprising to me how many of these Broncos players, after getting their extensions, have their cap hits just jump dramatically. But I think Nik Bonitto will still be here throughout his whole contract, as long as he sustains his production and keeps getting better and better. Keep putting on more weight. Put on more weight if it doesn't slow down your speed. Obviously, Nik Bonitto has his premier asset in his speed around the edge, but I'd like to see him be stronger in the run, as the Broncos' run defense has been faulty a little more in the playoffs, especially against that big O-line in Buffalo. Next up, we got the leader of the defense, at least vocally, Mr. Jonathan Cooper. Now, I love Jay Coop. He's been one of my favorite players to watch the last couple of years, and his sack production has been very good for a edge 2 on your team. Obviously, a little more stout, a little better in the run game than Nik Bonitto, but I still think he can get better there, and those pass rush moves can get a little better, as in the second half of the season, Jonathan Cooper kind of disappeared. Part of the reason why the Broncos defense struggled down the stretch was obviously their linebacker play, but the edge rusher tandem of Nik Bonitto and Jonathan Cooper's production kind of faltered down the stretch of the year, and they didn't get a ton of sacks. They might have had some pressures here and there, but their sack production definitely went down, and that's why the Broncos went from possibly breaking the sack record to still having one of the historic sack numbers, but not breaking that record. Now, obviously, I don't think the Broncos should move on from Jonathan Cooper, and them restructuring his deal makes it a little harder to do so, at least next year. As you see, he jumps up again, another big jump to $17 million in 2027 and 2028. Then you see that $5 million that the Broncos restructured this year. A little confused on why they did that, because they haven't really spent that money. It's really just what Jalen Waddle is making, and it's like, you still have $20 million, so did you really need to do that? But I don't think Jonathan Cooper's money is anything egregious. If they wanted to move on from him, I think it's a possibility. But again, with that restructure, I think it's a little less likely now. But I still expect Jonathan Cooper to really be good this year. Hopefully reach that 10-sack mark and hopefully sustain that production throughout the year and finish strong rather than faltering. Next up, we got Mr. Tight End 1, Dondre Tillman, coming off a 2-interception year and some very hype returns. Dondre is now in line for that edge 3 role, with Jonah Ellis probably moving more towards inside linebacker. I know that Jonah Ellis could see some time at edge as well, but I think that primary edge 3 will be Dondre Tillman. Now, Dondre is back this year on an exclusive rights free agency deal, and he'll still be a restricted free agent next year, so the Broncos have him cheap through his 28, 29, 30-ish-year-old seasons, so I think you can expect him to be around for then, but I don't know what the future holds, with the Broncos having guys like Q Robinson and probably having to draft other edges as these edges get older. And if Dondre can continue his play, he'll probably get paid after his restricted free agency year, so I'd be happy to see him go play on another team, possibly start. But for now, Dondre is a very, very high-end edge 3, and I love that we have him here. So look out for him to continue sack production and hopefully beast out in that run game as always. And hopefully snag himself another pick, so I'd love to see Dondre Tillman on the return once again. Next up, we got the new edge 4, in my opinion, Q Robinson. Now, it was a little questionable on the Q Robinson pick with them having their 4 edge rushers from 2024, but Q Robinson, when he got snaps, did look good. Also played some special teams. I think he can get a little better there, playing special teams alongside Dondre Tillman, but being that edge 4 coming in, he made a big play against Drake May in the AFC Championship game, and I hope to keep seeing him improve. Obviously, deepen his pass rush bag, and obviously I want to see him more in the run game. Obviously, he came in more as a designated pass rusher when he was in for the Broncos last year. So I think you want to see that development in the run game. You want to see more pass rush moves, and obviously generate some sacks for this Broncos defensive line. Q is entering the second year of his 4-year rookie contract, so he's here for at least another 3 years under a cost-controlled amount of money. So, Q Robinson, keep looking to get better. Hopefully he takes a step this year, especially with Jonah Ellis moving over. And the Broncos really cleared the runway for him to take a leap and be that edge 4, possibly like a Jonah Ellis and Dondre Tillman leap like they had. Next up, I don't want to take too many shots at Drew Sanders. Obviously, injuries are tough, but I felt it was fitting having him in a practice jersey because that's really all that we've seen from him the last couple of years, with him dealing with the Achilles and then the injury last year, which basically sidelined him the whole year, even though they said it was only be a 4-week injury. Now, I think Drew Sanders is pretty doomed for this team. There's a possibility he stays on the practice squad, but with Jonah Ellis moving to inside, I find it hard that the Broncos keep 5 edges. I still think there's a possibility Von Miller or Cam Jordan is in the horizon. So I think it's going to be tough for Drew Sanders making that position switch once again to edge. He's a good pressure player from up the middle, but he didn't really work out at edge, so they moved him back to linebacker. So I really don't know what's in store for Drew Sanders. I'd love for him to make an impact on this team still, but I think it's bleak. He's also entering the final year of his contract, so we'll see what's in store for him. Hopefully he can bounce back, stay healthy, find a way on this team, but I think it's not looking good for him. A couple guys I wanted to touch on who probably could be practice squad players. First up, I got Johnny Walker. Now, you may not know that name. He was actually an undrafted free agent from last year before getting hurt in the preseason and missing all of this year, but I believe he was the highest paid undrafted free agent the Broncos signed last year, and I think they have high hopes for him. Now, I'm not saying he might not make the team. Obviously, they have 4 good edges right now. Drew Sanders is ahead of him, and you never know what can happen. But I think he could be a guy you look for in preseason to make an impact and possibly make this practice squad and be some good depth for this team. Obviously, we've seen their deep edge development keep working year after year. You got all the guys that they have currently, and I think Johnny Walker could be a sneaky guy to look out for in the upcoming years if he can develop on this Broncos team and stay healthy. Lastly, we got Dasan McCullough, another undrafted free agent for the Denver Broncos. They call him the Slim Reaper. He's kind of a hybrid player, linebacker, edge. He's played like slot or something. Some reporters have him as a safety when he signed with us. I don't think he's that. He's obviously going to be more of a pressure player, as Vance Joseph would say. And being nicknamed the Slim Reaper, he's probably more of a speed guy getting around the outside. But watching some of his tape, he can slip around blockers with his slim frame and make plays on runners and quarterbacks because he's so long. So I'm interested to see what he'll do in the preseason and look out for him as another practice squad name. Now that's it for this one. Let me know what position I should do next and keep going into these deep dives. It's very fascinating for me to more look into these guys' history, what they're going to possibly do this upcoming year, especially these contracts. A lot of Broncos contracts are taking a big jump in 2027, so I'll be interested to see how they navigate the cap. And that's about it.